Good weekend.
Yeah, it was a good weekend. You know, it was kind of chilled. Hung out with the kids. These kids, Joseph, they want to play me in basketball, and they keep talking all this shit, and like I just dunk on them. Like, not having it.
Like, how quickly is that your kind of choice, though? Is that like a last resort? I've got to dunk on them to just show them who's boss, or do you do it straight away?
No, like I'll kind of like play around with them and
Yeah.
let them feel good about themselves. But then once they start talking trash, I'm like, don't poke Jordan over here. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna shut you down. Like I team up with one of them. We beat him like 15-8, and then the boys keep talking junk. Like you guys lost. Like we're gonna shut you down. I'm like, shut up, kids. And then so I just
Yeah.
shut him out. I beat him 15-0. I'm not gonna let him score.
Is that when you like start calling post ups and stuff?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I'll post them up. I won't let them score at all. Like I just play. I completely like lock them up. I
Bully
ain't letting them
ball.
go nowhere.
Yeah. Brett Brown 2019 violence at the rim shit.
I'm not having it. They keep talking trash. Like if they were respectful and stuff, and they were like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh yeah, you know, good game and everything," then it'd be one thing. But they're gonna talk trash when they're losing and acting like they're winning. I'm not
Yeah.
having it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I understand. I see that you've advertised we're going to talk about Bret Hart today.
I didn't know what else we were going to talk about, so just like let's just put Bret Hart. Let's talk about him for an hour.
Christmas? Did you know anything about Christmas?
Now, what's that?
Well, I was going to say it's a holiday, but that's a gimmick of mine that I don't like. That I just say. Yeah, that's Bob O'Neill's birthday. Christmas, Bob O'Neill's birthday. Um, I don't know, man. There was stuff that happened on the weekend, wasn't there? Didn't stuff happen?
Did there?
I don't know. I'm probably not in wrestling, but I'm sure something happened. Bret Hart's good though. Do you like Bret Hart?
Bret Hart was a problem. I think people forget that.
Yeah, he was super underrated, huh?
Yeah,
Super slept on, famously slept on. Bret the Hitman Hart, one of the biggest
yeah.
wrestling stars ever.
I don't think people realize how good
No,
Bret Hart actually was.
agreed.
Do you know
Yeah,
that
always
Durant tweet? Do you know that Durant tweet?
the one that's the inspiration for these tweets. Is that the one you're suggesting?
Well, there's that one. Oh God. Oh God.
Oh my God.
What's up, guys?
How you doing, Sean?
Just hanging out. Felt like my ears were burning a little bit. We were talking about all-time greats. Talking about Bret Hart. Just happened to be sitting here wearing these sunglasses.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe I'd drop by. What's up?
We were just talking about how
at night.
What's that?
we were just talking about how slept on Bret Hart is. You know, no one talks about how good Bret Hart was, you know?
Well, I think Bret Hart probably actually sleeps on himself because this thing is like an actual sleep mask.
Yeah.
You can't see shit out of it. So I'm going to need you guys to speak up because I definitely can't read your lips right now.
Well, he definitely, he didn't wear it while he was wrestling. So
he should have.
I have a copy of the WWE rule book, which I was actually very excited for it to release a few years ago. I was like, hell yeah, this is rad. It was a complete gimmick book. It was a joke. But there were a couple of things that were in there. And I feel like eyewear being allowed in the ring was one of the things that actually seemed pretty useful. I mean, nobody wears it, but still.
It's like you go like Horace Grant. You just got like the goggles and you just wear those the whole time. That'd be sweet, actually.
You know, I interviewed Bret Hart once.
Did you?
You tell him he's underrated?
No, but what I wanted to do, like, anytime I do an interview, I try to ask them stuff that hasn't been asked before. And it's like Bret Hart's whole thing is burying everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's his whole deal. So I was like, okay, please tell me who did the best sharpshooters besides you. And he looks dead into the camera. And he goes, well, it's a lot easier for me to tell you who does the worst. And then when he did tell me who did the best, this guy who my idol growing up had the balls to say Sting, who I love. Yeah. But oh boy, his Scorpion Deathlock ain't going to be high on the best Scorpion Deathlocks by Stings of all time list. Even the fake Sting did a better one of those than him.
So, did he out Rock as a bad sharpshoot guy? Because he loves Rock, but
Yes, he did. He
Yeah,
he absolutely did. And one of my favorite memories about that was I did it to promote this Canadian cartoon. And I didn't even see the message until after the interview, but like 3 minutes before, they said, only 15 minutes, no wrestling questions. To which I would have replied, get fucked. Because what's the point? All due respect to Bret Hart, I ain't going to interview him about a cartoon for 15 minutes and then just do nothing. But Bret, I guess, does his research on anybody who's interviewing him. And he's like, go as long as you want. Ask me about wrestling if you want. And I said, hell yes. And then afterwards, I was like, well, why did he even tell me, ask me about wrestling if I wanted? Because I hadn't seen that original email yet. So I was very flattered by the end of that. But
you should have just brought your phone and showed him like clips of himself wrestling. Go, man, look how underrated you were. Look at your execution here.
I want Bret Hart on the watching wrestlers watching wrestling with wrestlers series.
Don't even ask questions. Yeah, just put him over.
Yeah.
Oh, here was the direct quote. Quote, I can tell you the ones that have the worst easier. I know Steve Austin had a hard time putting it on. So did The Rock. They'd tell you that themselves. You think when you look at it, you go, oh, I can put that on. But you better really think about it. And you better appreciate it.
Wait, do we think The Rock would tell you that himself? He did that in every match.
Oh, yeah. I still think he would know that it's the shits.
Wow.
No, Rock probably thought he was like halfway decent at it.
Yeah, I get the sense too. He did it every match.
Yeah. Then I said, yeah, but give me one that did it good. And he says, I think Sting always puts it on. And I was like, what? Of all, like, no, that's the opposite of the excellence of execution. Like, I love Sting, but far too often it would be him, like, with some rheumatoid arthritis grip on somebody's ankles, leaning completely over with his face towards the ground. And I was like, what is this?
Yeah, and he would start doing that deal where he'd like bridge on his own wrist. He'd be like sagging one way.
So bad. So bad.
Who else does a good sharpshooter though? I'm now
Always
lost.
did it well, right?
Yeah,
Natty does a good one, honestly.
Yeah, I'm glad he didn't say Natty though. That would have seemed very Bret.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Cesaro does a pretty solid one.
There you go.
Tyson
Garcia
Kidd did
does
a good one.
Garcia's got like a different variation on it.
Do you know who taught Bret Hart the sharpshooter?
I do not.
Sting.
You all don't know this story? Conan taught him the sharpshooter.
My God.
Wow.
Now, before he taught him, did he go in his DMs and say, hey, have you seen my sharpshooter?
Oh, my God. Let me see. Let me see if I can jog my memory of who did good sharpshooters. I am blindly typing this. I feel like I never got LASIK.
What are you Googling? Like just best sharpshooters?
Yeah. Best sharpshooters.
Is it Matt that does it in the Young Bucks? He does a pretty good one, right? I think honestly, it's Matt.
Oh, I'm getting a bunch of people who were snipers in the military now.
Oh,
that's sharpshooters in
enough about Bob O'Neill.
He just tweeted Bret Hart. He said, "Do you also call him the immoral Hulk Hogan?"
Okay, when you type in best sharpshooters in wrestling, the first one that comes up is The Rock doing one to John Cena.
Oh man, that's layered. That's good shit.
What do we got here? And then you got one that isn't even a sharpshooter ever, which is Edge. Oh, you know what? Trish doing the standing one where she would fold people in half, I thought looked good. She would get somebody like really flexible. It's a little bit different than a sharpshooter though. Mm-hmm. But I thought that hers was all right if you're talking about modified ones, but really nobody touches Bret. Nobody does.
He was underrated.
Yeah, he was very underrated. The thing is that people forget he was a fucking problem, Jerry.
They do, man.
They really forget that he was a fucking problem.
No, Joseph, before by the way, Joseph's wearing a Sting hat. I just noticed.
Yeah, I got some hairline issues. I'm not,
I'm gonna be the baby face of this stream. Hold on.
really going through with the interactive stuff. The handshake.
Yeah. I mean, we got to think of the next thing. That's what Fightful does. Next revenue stream. Next thing. Yeah. Like if Bret isn't doing that on his virtual signings during the pandemic, I don't know what we're even here doing. Like man.
Joseph, the Kevin Durant tweet is he tweeted like people forget how good Michael Jordan was.
Oh right, yeah, I've seen the screenshot. Yeah,
He was also a problem. If I do remember correctly,
Michael Jordan is definitely a problem.
People forget that, but he was.
To be fair, now this is defending professional wrestling, so stop me if you'd like. But the Observer Awards have confused people greatly on the underrated thing, right?
Yeah.
Because they and I'm not. This is not even a criticism, but the way they do underrated is like worst, most underutilized, worst booked, relative to talent. Cesaro's won that thing like 25 times. We all know how good Cesaro is, but he's underutilized, and then people get very. Bret Hart is neither of those things, though, so that doesn't really help their case.
Dude, he's gonna win that award again this year, Cesaro.
I just gotta say, like, my favorite thing about that KD post is like The Last Dance came out last year. And like 30 million people watched it.
Yeah.
More people watched that than The Walking Dead at its height. And he's like, people forget, man. Forget how good he is.
Kevin Durant had a good tweet today where he was like, "This shit is dumb." There's some clip of this girl doing a double dribble behind the back thing. Do you see that?
It doesn't need context. It's fair.
Just like,
this shit dumb.
Is dumb.
Yeah.
Speaking of dumb, I'm gonna take about 3 hours off before Monday Night Raw starts. See you fellas later.
Then you gotta watch Raw.
Oh my God, Raw. Wow. Watching Raw, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's why they pay Sean the big bucks.
Allegedly. JJ says, hello to my favorite big stars. Sorry, not been around last week. JJ, hope you're doing good, buddy. Finding it a bit tough. I always have the distraction to go to. Anyway, surprise for Thursday's show has helped. Love you both and all the grinners. Do you know about the surprise that JJ is doing for Thursday's show?
I don't know. I have like 6-7 DMs to get to, though, so it might be in there. I'm assuming it's something good. I hope it is, because this is a Christmas show, and I do not want to, kill the viewership here last minute, JJ. So bring your A game, brother.
I have no idea what this is. He's very excited about it. He's booking the show. He's just telling me what to do.
Wait, you don't know what it is?
No. Here's the DMs he sent me. I'm going to expose the DMs that JJ sent me.
This seems very troublesome. I mean, feels like the two people hosting the show, one of us should probably know.
He says, I cannot wait to send you my surprise for the distraction on Thursday. Okay. It's done. I'll send you closer to Thursday, and you can make it the cold open if you would like. There's also, I know Bob has the corner 3, but he might want to be on stream for this. Plus, is Jack Crosby going to be part of the show? And then he says, actually change my mind from the cold open. Save the surprise for the end of the main show.
My God, pal. What do you think this is? Yeah, that's fair.
So apparently this is going to close the show on Thursday, whatever Joseph is doing, or JJ's doing.
I mean, I'm not doing anything that closes the show.
I don't know what this thing is.
Merry Christmas, Jeremy.
Merry Christmas, Joseph.
Bret Hart, give me your favorite Bret Hart match.
WrestleMania 12 against Shawn Michaels.
That's filth. I don't mind it as much as some, but that's a big time call for favorite.
That's his favorite loss of all time.
One incredible phrase. Favorite loss. God bless, man. Yeah, I go. Favorite is Owen. WrestleMania 10.
10, yeah.
Beautiful match.
Yeah.
Second is the Survivor Series versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, 96. Third is WrestleMania 13, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Fair.
And after that, I'd start looking. Them 3 feel locked in for me, to be honest.
That's fair.
Perfect's a good call in the chat.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the classic IC title match, right? Bret and Perfect. That's like the archetype that comes to mind when you think of IC title matches. So he's good though, right? Bret Hart.
You dislike, or correct me if I'm wrong. Where are you at on the cage match with Owen?
I admire it artistically that Bret took the cage stipulation that literal and just built a 35-minute match around trying to crawl out of the cage. But I find it to be a bit of a drag. I think it's very good. It's not one. To me, that's subjectively one of his best matches, but in terms of favorite, it's very low because I don't enjoy watching it over and over, So,
yeah.
That's just me. What do you think?
I need to rewatch it. I clearly don't like it better than the WrestleMania 10 match. I don't know if it's in my top 5 though, because the three that you mentioned are definitely there. Like the whole King of the Ring run. I know you can't like put them all together, but that entire run is just tremendous. What's the match? Oh, I like the the Survivor Series match against Diesel.
Great
I
call.
like that match.
Yes. Yeah, very good. The Rumble match is good. So even though the finish is obviously it's a no finish, it kind of kills it a little bit. But
the Bulldog matches as well.
Yeah. Oh, he's great. How high is he on the GOAT list that neither of us have actually ever produced? We just say Bret Danielson is the GOAT without ever having any kind of frame of reference as to who's 2, 3, 4, and 5.
When I tweet that, I tweet this like once a week, and
You do.
Yeah, but people got mad at me for this last week. Do you know how many Shawn Michaels gifts I got? And I just wanted to block everybody. Bro. I really just wanted to like log off and be like, why are people using this app incorrectly?
Let's be real. People overdo the Shawn criticism, right?
Yes. Oh, 100%.
He was a great wrestler, but better than Bryan Danielson. I don't know about all that. I mean, he was much more one-dimensional, I think, as an in-ring performer than Bryan Daniels. Frankly, I think he was a much more one-dimensional in-ring performer than guys like AJ and I'm trying to think of other like generational. Are they the top 2 US workers of the last 20 years? AJ and Bryan Danielson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they like Bret and Shawn for this last 15 years? If you were to do like equivalent with, I guess that would make AJ Shawn, I guess.
Yeah, AJ would be Shawn.
To me, they're so well rounded, both those guys.
Yeah, they are.
AJ may be the most versatile, great in-ring guy ever. There's no style you can throw at AJ. Even though I don't think he's as good as Danielson on a whole, I don't think I don't think you can touch him in terms of that. CM Punk is great. I think he's in a different lane, which is like maybe cowardly on my part, but I think CM Punk is one of wrestling's great storytellers.
Yeah.
And that means he is a great wrestler. So I'm not doing the thing where I go, he's not a great wrestler. He's a great, fuck that. But what I'm saying is, like, to me, they're like straight mechanic belt to belt. They're obviously more than that, but I trust them to have kind of interesting matches with almost anyone. Punk's, I find to be a slightly different lane. That's just me. Samoa Joe's, I mean, good Lord. Samoa Joe's very good, Jeremy.
How much does it suck that we forget how good AJ Styles is because of where he's at?
Very much so. I'm currently wearing a shirt of his.
Are you?
I am. I do find that to be a bit of a bummer. I don't really get to watch his stuff anymore because I just don't find it interesting. Especially, like, I would seek out big singles matches of his, but the fact that he's just kind of with Omos, like, I think it's actually kind of a good role for him. It's just not interesting to me as a fan.
Yeah.
Which happens, right? But I mean, he's been fabulous for around 19 years, so he's pretty damn awesome. Like, I saw the last couple of times I watched pay-per-views, he was still great on them too. So I have no anyone that said, if someone said to me, I think AJ Styles is the greatest pro wrestler ever, I honestly wouldn't punch him in the face. I'd maybe live a shot, but I wouldn't punch him in the face. No, I think it's a fair take. He's spectacular.
Yes. Yeah,
you could
AJ
have
was
choices for his best level to his peak,
Yeah, AJ was that guy who like really helped spark my interest in wrestling again. And I told the story, but his ROH run and then his Impact TNA run were fantastic. And like you said, you could argue that neither of those runs are even his best run. It's actually the New Japan run.
That's my pick.
Yeah, where he did his best work. Like he's so great, so great, and it's good that he's had this run in WWE. They've made the most of it with him. I mean, maybe they haven't made the most of it, but
last couple of years have been like Will has that take, and I completely agree with it that the heel turn was a real mistake. Like, people love AJ Styles, and like kids liked him, wrestling nerds liked him. Like, Will is correct about that. He should have stayed babyface basically forever, I think. But they do what they do, and you get what you get, I suppose.
I don't even know where they're going with it. I mean, they don't either, but it'll be a shame. And I don't think it'll happen. So it will be a shame. Are we not going to get just like a Big E AJ Styles like big time pay-per-view match? Could you imagine that match?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get that. I assume they're building to Omos versus AJ at WrestleMania, right?
Yeah, like AJ's going to make him look great, but fuck, man. It just kind of sucks.
Yeah, and which, you're probably going to do that as like, you're probably going to have AJ as the heel, aren't you? Based on what I've seen of them
you'd
telling the
have to, because
story.
he'd have to, he'd be bumping his ass off and
Yeah,
stuff,
and that's
like
just
chop him
like,
down.
that match is less interesting than AJ as a babyface, right? But
Yeah.
they're going to tell the story they're going to tell. Like, I don't know. I'm intrigued by where he is at the end of this year. Next year, I should say. I mentioned this on the Late Night Grin. I think he's a name to circle in terms of his future. I really do believe that. I don't know him, believe it or not, but I'm intrigued to see like how he sees his career, because I think it's pretty obvious that he has changed role quite dramatically in the last 18 months. Heyman, to be fair, was the first booker that started doing it. He kind of slotted AJ in that US range because he hates old people. So, I'm intrigued if AJ's comfortable with that. He may be. He's like 45. I get it, So, yeah, he's an interesting name, certainly. There's some stuff I'd like to see him do that I don't think we will see him do, but time will tell, Jeremy.
Our buddy Chris says AJ's top 3 favorite all time. I don't even care to watch it because of the Fed. It's
sad, man.
Yeah.
And it's a really common sentiment right now with fans of all kinds, because like that's what's fueling the constant who's next to AEW, right? Is that no one wants their favorite wrestler in WWE right now, and it's kind of lame, to be honest. It's really a bummer. Like, it shouldn't be that way. Everyone talks about the third promotion, which I've decided translates to I wish WWE wasn't so bad. It's a shame. I hope it changes this coming year. I don't know if it will, but like, it isn't hard to get that product better. It's hard to make it good. I don't think it will be good for a long time, WWE's product. Yeah. However, there are definitely little things you could do to make it, go from a 0 to a 3 or 4 on a scale of 1 to 10. Like, it's just uninteresting right now. I think it going back to like 2017 quality would be good for all of us that cover this shit. Like, there's pieces there, Jeremy. That's what I'm saying. There are pieces there that you could do interesting stuff with. They just choose not to. Many people sent me this Liv Morgan thing that I refuse to watch. I'm not watching it. When more people send me that, I guess it's real bad, so I'm not watching that.
Why?
Because you just like
watch it right now. Let's do a live reaction.
Could you put it on the screen, do you think?
We might get hit with a copy on that one.
Yeah. That's fair. Right, I'll watch it on the screen.
Okay. All right, everyone. Joseph's going to watch this fantastic Liv Morgan, Becky Lynch angle that they released last night.
Yep. That's what I'm going to do. I don't know if this is going to be actually colourful entertaining. I haven't seen it. I've just heard multiple people talk about how bad it is. So.
I watched it once. I didn't even have the sound on. I was just like, sure.
Okay. Here we go.
Sure. All right.
Okay, we've got Liv's like got a handheld here. My God. Oh God, it's one of those things where it looks like a film.
Cinematic endings.
She's already in the ring. That rules. Okay. Oh, did Becky like break her arm or something, or wrist?
Yeah, she
like kayfabe, obviously.
Yeah.
She just got a kendo stick out of thin air.
Yeah, she smashed her arm against the steps, or smashed the steps into her arm.
My God, it's fake Becky. Oh, fuck, God bless, man. Why did she just let her take it over? I hate when wrestlers throw forearms in like a real brawl situation, Oh, Becky's just kicking the shit out of her now. Uh-oh. An Inzaguri. When was the last time you did Inzaguri in a street fight, Jeremy?
Probably about 2 days ago.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. That was nowhere near as bad as I expected it to be. The main issue with it was the production choices, which were fucking insane and completely unforced error. Like, because some of it feels like they're trying to capture it raw, but then it keeps cutting to like cinematic style.
Yeah.
I don't know, bro.
They needed Malcolm Bivens there to like record it on his phone and yell "World Star," like then it would have been authentic.
Mate, when he posted the graphic of like him versus Tyron Woodley, I howled. Like, that dude's so funny.
He's tremendous.
Did you watch the? I've got a good story about the fight.
Yeah, I watched it.
Okay, so on Saturday, Brits will know there was boxing on here, and I watched that and I was really tired after, so I went to sleep and I'd just forgotten the fight was on. It didn't seem to have a lot of buzz, I didn't think, going in. I'd kind of forgotten it was on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I woke up at like 3, 4, whenever it was in the morning, and someone messaged me about it, and I was like, oh shit, I forgot about this. Let's watch it by totally legal means. So I had the fight and I'm in bed watching this on my phone, right? And I swear I'm not being dramatic when I tell you it's one of the worst fights I've ever seen in my life. It was so bad. They were clinching on every punch. And after whatever round it was before the knockout, I was like, oh, this sucks. Oh, this is done. I locked my phone, threw it down, went back to bed. My phone lit up immediately. I was like, oh, man, I really hope I didn't miss Tyron Woodley knocking Jake Paul out. Brother, when I clicked back on that, I wish you'd have seen my face when I saw poor old Tyron Woodley face planted by like a bomb. That was a serious knockout, man.
Yeah.
That's honestly one of the best knockouts I've seen in some time. because the truth is, in high level boxing, you would never see a knockout like that, right? Like he had a chance to load up on that thing and fucking, put it in the holster and fire it. And I don't know. I don't want to dunk on poor dude, but like it's pretty sad.
It's really sad.
Yeah,
Woodley is, we talked about how far he'd fallen off after the first fight, and the thing is like I didn't know how the second fight was really going to go. I actually thought Paul had a much better chance in the second fight because I don't think Jake Paul's a good boxer, but I listened to a couple of interviews of people who like kind of trained with both of them and stuff, and by all accounts, Jake Paul, I don't know if he is sorry, message I just got popped me. I don't know if he's a good boxer, but it seems like he has enough athletic tools and has been, training for long enough to where he's making some strides in that area. And Tyron Woodley is 40-year-old and is what he is at this point, So I thought Paul would win the second fight. Yeah, it sucked until that actually happened, or the knockout actually happened. But I guess he wants to fight. He should fight Anderson, right? Like that's the fight.
I think he's going to just do the fight that was playing with Tommy Fury.
I think he is too.
I initially thought he was going to be like, you had your chance, but he talked about him immediately after the fight. So I was kind of like, well, look, it don't seem like Mr. Jake Paul is a particularly good human being, but I can't really knock the shit he's doing in boxing. I mean, 2 weeks before a fight getting pulled out and bringing in a dude that gave him a pretty good fight the first time and giving him a $500,000 incentive. Like, I can't front. It's for a guy of his skill level, he's maximizing his moment here. And you could say like he needs to box someone that's good, but in absolute fairness, legitimately talented boxers box no one good until about 15 fights into their career. So Tyron Woodley is not a good boxer. No. I'm sorry, like he's not. But like, who do we really expect him to fight? Like he was going to fight Tommy Fury, which I think is a good fight. They're both kind of not raw, and because I think, look, at this point, I think it's pretty clear that Jake's ceiling is very, very obvious, right? I mean, like he didn't look particularly good in that fight. I didn't think. Luckily for him, Woodley is no good at boxing. The The one thing I will say is, like, I get everyone talks about, like, oh, you know, he threw his legacy away for cash, but it's like, if he don't care about it, then, like, what does it matter, right?
Yeah.
Like, in fairness to Woodley, he went to the press conference and sat there and was like, yeah, you knocked me out. It's like, if you own it, it's like, whatever you made, how much money did you make from this rivalry? $4 million, $5 million? As a fan of MMA, I think it's kind of a bummer that his name's always going to have this massive cloud hanging over. But if he doesn't care, then, like, whatever, man, I don't know.
I agree. My thing with that is, like, I never looked at Woodley at that level in MMA, and that's probably, like, disrespectful on my part because he was he defended that title a lot. But, like, I look at GSP, I look at, like, Usman and what he's doing now. Like, those are the two, like, welterweight kings in my mind. Woodley was just a guy who, like, had the title, put on, like, some boring fights, and just kind of, like,
well, that's the other element of this is that he was never popular with MMA hardcores anyway. So the only people that actually care about legacy already wasn't really into him anyway. So
right.
I don't know. It's kind of, you know, it's kind of brutal. He literally is, like, since he was champ, he lost the belt and has genuinely not won, like, a round. I mean, he won a couple rounds in these pool fights, but, like, you know, it's not exactly the most impressive feat in the grand scheme of things. Chat, if any of you said this, I've not been looking, so I'm sorry. I don't mean to be a dick here. But, like, if you think this fight was worked,
oh, no.
I'm going to need you to take, like, a week off professional wrestling. Chill. There is many ways to work a boxing match. Firstly, I mean, it's very unlikely that Showtime is desperate enough for Jake Paul to win it. They're going to work these fights. But if you really want to believe they're working fights, I think you're clear on this one. When there's a faceplant knockout, like, that was a scary knockout, man.
Yes. Yeah, so, you ain't working a fight taking an unfeathered shot to the head like that. Like, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna kind of cover up and then just kind of go down and whatever, or you're just gonna do what they were doing the entire time previously, is just, like, clutch and grab and do a bunch of nothing. But you ain't trying to work shit taking just, hey, punch me in the head as hard as you can.
So Woodley was supposed to fight Dan Hardy in March in a boxing match.
Really?
Am I wrong in saying that, like, unless he has lost all skill in the last 10 years, Dan Hardy is going to piece that dude up in a boxing match? Because Dan Hardy had hands. He didn't have a lot else. Yeah. He had nice combinations. Bless Woodley, man. He has no combinations. Without the takedown threat, he has no setup for his right hand, right?
Yeah. He just wings that right. And, like you said, like, without the takedown, you can see it coming, because people could see it coming in MMA. They were just so worried about the takedowns. Like, oh, well, I got to cover this. And hey, look, Woodley's also lost the step. When was the last time Dan Hardy fought, though? Dude, like, I was never, like, super high on Dan Hardy.
It's like a decade.
Yeah. Like, I was never super high on Dan Hardy, but yeah, he could certainly box a little. Maybe that's who Jake Paul fights next, is Dan Hardy. I do want to get to the super chat really fast. Aunt P says this for getting Joe's reaction to the live thing. Maybe that's who Jake Paul fights next is Dan Hardy. I think. Did you see, like, Jake called out? He called out, like, the UFC. He called out, like, Conor and Nate and even, like, Usman and stuff. I think he knows that, one, Dana ain't gonna let those guys do that fight, and two, like, I actually don't think he wants any piece of Anderson Silva.
But you do realize what the circumstances with Nate Diaz, right? One fight left on his deal.
Oh.
And the Dustin Poirier fight is allegedly coming together really quick. And listen, folks, you can like it, you can hate it, but you got to learn to love it, because if they do Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz, that thing is going to be a monster.
Yeah.
That thing is going to sell millions. Like,
yeah.
And I will not tell you who I think is going to win that fight, because I don't want to have to think that far ahead. Because I think we both agree that, like, there's a lot of evidence to suggest Diaz can kind of fuck him up.
Yeah.
There is also a lot of my brain that tells me that in an 8-round fight, Nate Diaz is going to spend a lot of time mean mugging and losing rounds, which concerns me very much. But that seems like the obvious endgame here to me. Got one fight left on his deal. What's left for Nate to do in the UFC? You don't care, right? It's a massive fight, man. Huge fight.
Yeah, and look, Nate is all about the money right now. Like, who can blame him? Like, he spent years grinding and everything. He finally got he finally got those money fights against Conor, and that's what set this off of like he ain't taking no fights but money fights now. And like the Poirier fight's a big fight. You do that. The one thing is like, okay, one fight left on his deal. If he beats Poirier, they're probably throwing him into the title fight. Like whether he's earned it or not, different story. But they're probably throwing him into some type of title fight just because he's Nate. That's going to be big money. Is it going to be bigger than the Jake Paul fight? Probably not. It's just a matter of like, what does Nate want to do? Does he want to fight for the UFC title? Or does he want to go get a payday that's probably pretty easier than going up against Oliveira Usman? Because Oliveira and Usman are fucking him up.
But that is the one elephant in the room with these Jake Paul things is like Woodley was a really big welterweight, and obviously he's a much bigger, like he towered over Woodley.
Yeah.
Nate Diaz is not a big welterweight. Like
No.
Jake Paul fights at 190. It just concerns me a little bit, the size of them. Like he called out Masvidal and Diaz and Conor, and it's like those dudes are all small, you know, compared to Paul, and that may not matter. I'm just saying that it's not ideal. You notice he's not calling out, you know, Israel Adesanya anytime soon, or any of these big 85 like Robert Whittaker or anyone, you know.
That is, again, like he wants to fight the smaller guy. I mean, look, Masvidal, McGregor, Diaz, they're all kind of more money fights anyway than Whittaker or Adesanya. I think Anderson's a money fight, but Anderson's a big dude. I think Anderson's also like he's actually skilled when it comes to boxing, where a lot of these guys not quite. The Diaz fight, you're right that like there is evidence that Diaz could just like piece him up pretty easily, but the size is a thing. And look, bless Nate Diaz, that man's gonna take some punches, and Jake Paul can hit. I know Diaz has got a chin on him, but like he can hit, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think people have, you know, probably got to accept at this point that there's a good chance he can beat your favorite MMA fighter. I know it's tough, but it bums me out too. He's not like good, but for a novice, he's kind of like he's one thing he is good at genuinely is that for a novice, he's good at like performing at the maximum, right? Like how many young fighters do you see that fight on a way lower level in terms of publicity that can't deal with that pressure? Jake Paul always kind of rises to it in some form or fashion. I thought this was the worst he'd ever looked, and then he pulled out a knockout punch. So, yeah, I can't really clown him as a fighter. I mean, I can clown him for many other reasons, I'm sure, if I look deep enough, but I don't want to. So I'm just going to say that, you know, he's doing a good job right now. I mean, he's fought like 4 times in the last like 13 months or something. They threw some stat out there. He does a better job of getting the fights to the people than most top-level boxers do. I mean, the people want to fight, and he gives them the fight. Granted, they want him to have tougher fights that he could lose. That would pop all of us. But for the most part, people said Tyron Woodley, he booked it. They said Tommy Fury, he booked it. I can't really clown that, to be honest with you. He's kind of like doing boxing better than the boxers in terms of the promotional side of it, and that's a real shame, but that's kind of where we're at. And I'm a big boxing fan, so I ain't saying that with like any hate. I'm just being honest. This is kind of a shame.
Did you I know you said you didn't even realize that fight was on. Did you watch Darren Williams and Frank Gore?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh man. I know you weren't like a big basketball fan at the time of Darren Williams, though. Okay. So the thing with Darren Williams, like he came in the league around the same time as Chris Paul. And
that
like,
was the comparison.
That was the comparison, is Williams and Paul. And people were like, oh, who's better? Who's better? Like there was plenty of people going on the side of Darren Williams as being better. And Frank Gore, legitimately, like I should look this up, like all-time running backs, like he's like top 5 when it comes to yardage. Like his longevity, I mean, he's taken a lot of shots as a running back over the years, but he's like one of the most productive running backs in NFL history. Like neither of these guys could fight, but if you just want to talk about 2 like novices just going out there and just throwing on each other, fucking tremendous.
Like, how much money do you think they made?
Well, they probably made a good chunk. Like Frank Gore is number 3 all time in yards. Like the 3rd most productive running back in
probably
NFL.
Should have got paid well, yeah.
Is just out there doing these, random, celebrity boxing matches. and then Darren Williams, who, I mean, the guy he was compared to was in the NBA Finals last year. But they went out there and they were just swinging on each other,
God.
man. Bless them. It was great entertainment. Like it sucked. Obviously it's just like a boxing fight, but a lot of these celebrity boxing fights are just like boring. Nobody knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
You want some entertainment factor in there. So bad it's good, and that's what we got out of this fight.
That's the thing with the knockout punch that Paul got there was, honestly, if that fight continued on the way it was going, I think that whole thing could have died.
Yeah.
That fight was terrible. And obviously Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather was like incredibly bad. Like, I mean, an all-time bad event.
Yeah.
So they kind of needed something dramatic to happen, I think. Mark is correct. Nate and Nick Diaz famously would spar a lot with Andre Ward. I was always stunned when Andre Ward said they did well. So maybe they're like better than you'd think, because Andre Ward was really, really good. And you can see the Diaz brothers can box, but like if they were, giving him rounds, then I would assume they can beat, or Nate can beat Jake Paul. Nick's obviously older now and hasn't fought enough. So
yeah, I don't know what Nick can do right now.
No, it's sad.
Yeah,
it's just there's unfortunately that sport is like the worst whatever you describe as a mainstream sport. It's on ESPN and it's on every fucking week at this point. But like them fighters are just not set up to kind of sustain in terms of life, right? They're set up to fight a whole lot, and then when they get out, we can all forget about them and move on. It's a shame. Anyway, Bret Hart.
What's your favorite Bret Hart WCW memory?
I mean, I don't want to. You know what's funny is I was talking to Akash on Friday and we were talking about the fight in great detail. And not only did I forget it was on, he and I have not talked once since the fight happened. Neither of us want to really talk about it. We've just let it sit. Like, well, whatever. You get what you get, I suppose. But, yeah, a lot of Joe Frazier and Jake Paul, definitely. A lot of things there. Yeah, that's a good. The answer's good. Steel plate thing with gold.
Yeah, that's what everybody's saying. Is the steel plate.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, there's nothing else, right? I guess the Owen match, like the match they, him and the other dude had for Owen was like a pretty touching deal. I want to say I liked his matches with Booker, but I may have just like made that up.
Let's see what do you think the matches with Booker got on Cage Match?
2 3/4. Oh, on the Cage Match.
Cage Match.
6.4.
Oh, that's low for a Bret Hart Cage Match?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just threw it out there. I don't really agree. Cage Match kind of annoys me now. I get very frustrated with Cage Match.
Right, so there was apparently this is the famous one on Nitro. It got 4 stars. And
God.
Yeah, and a 7.2.
Damn. Yeah. I need to go and watch that because I didn't realize it was actually good. I remember there being a lot of, I have to say, I did a pretty linear watch of WCW, and the late 90s is where it gets really messy for me, man. Really messy. Everything bleeds together. There's no sense of like up and down in the pushes. It's just like the same crew of guys rotating round and round. Yeah, that's not my that's the time I'm most kind of lost on. Now, Jeremy, how many emails did you receive over the weekend about my controversial performance on the world famous late night grin?
I didn't receive any emails. I did get a lot of DMs and texts about it, though.
Okay.
I mainly just get like spam emails. No one really emails me important stuff.
Same.
Yeah.
But, wish I did.
Yeah, a lot of DMs and texts. I saw that Bob got canceled.
Always.
Yeah.
As soon as you start talking about politics, it's over for Bob. Yeah. I was a big fucking hater on Friday, man.
Wow.
Fleet fucked. I burnt an AEW shirt in London.
Oh, is this because Eddie
I got really mad.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I think I'm actually correct, but I appreciate that the perspective I come from as famed Eddie Kingston stan made me look like a lunatic. A couple people reached out to make sure I was okay, which I was slightly concerned by. Do you know what actually frustrated me about that? Because I rewatched Rampage and like, you know what was actually bad about it? I realized The fact that they give Garcia the upset win and by like 15 seconds later, 5 other things had happened, you couldn't even remember it. You couldn't even remember the result of the match. Like, one upset for Daniel Garcia. Hang on a second. They're hitting him with the boombox. Now Jurassic Express are coming down. It's like, let staff breathe for a minute, man. Good Lord. It's 150 miles an hour, Jeremy. It's too much. That's what, that's one thing I have a genuine criticism of. I think I was full of shit actually on Friday, but it happens. You review every show. Sometimes you're going to just whine for no reason.
I was very surprised because I didn't read the spoilers. I was very surprised by the finish because I actually missed like the end of the show, and the girlfriend was like, "Oh, what happened in the tag match?" I was like, "Oh well, I just assume Eddie's team won. Like, look at the guys they had. Look who's on the other team. Like, Eddie's probably won."
Yeah.
And we went back and rewatched it, and then when Eddie lost, she's like, "Why'd they do that? Why'd they just have Eddie get pinned like that? What are they doing?" She was very, very upset.
Fair.
Yeah, I probably not the call I would make. I understand you would be a little heated, but probably not the call that I would make.
My genuine take, all bits aside, is that Garcia needed to win on TV. Yeah. And the main issue I have in an objective sense was that the execution was so messy and it crowded what he'd actually done. Like it was so much stuff going on. The only take I had beyond that was I think there is a conversation worth having about King, like just his whole momentum kind of being like lost in the last 5 weeks. Whole momentum not being fair. That's wrong. But he was red hot when he entered the CM Punk match, and he has spent the last 5 weeks just like bickering with 2.0 and Dan Garcia, and his choice. I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm saying it's killed him, but it ain't exactly the most interesting thing in the world, So that's me. That's me personally. I think I'm all on them watching doing a rematch because the first match was awesome. But I got real whiny on Friday, man. Got real whiny,
Here's the thing with the Garcia. Like I agree, like Garcia needs wins at some point. Like him just like rolling up Kingston and pulling the tights, like not really the way I want.
Doesn't do anything. That's the
yeah. And then like you said, like okay, then we do the post match stuff with the Lucha brothers and the Jurassic brothers, and it's just like you just kind of forget that the things happen with that. It just I would like just have Kingston win, pin one of the 2.0 guys because who cares, and then build something off of that. Then like if Garcia does beat Kingston in a singles match, like that can play more into the Kingston story of like, okay, he can't win like the big one. And, if he beats him clean like that, and you could knock Eddie down a couple of pegs after the Punk match. I'm not like opposed to that. It's just the way they've kind of done it hasn't exactly been fulfilling.
Yes. I think the actual, if you're going to tell the story of King's kind of, flaws costing him, Garcia just beating him in the first match after would have actually been much more compelling in the singles match they had.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. They kind of, they're kind of in the middle here. I don't know. I said to you last Thursday, there's some stuff with AEW that's kind of I'm tackling right now. I'm wrestling with it. I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong. We talked about it a little bit on the late night grin. I'm very intrigued to see what the new year looks like. I want to see if they kind of revamp some. Right now, I find the creative to be a little bit uneven. The shows are still very, very good, but I'm intrigued, Jeremy. It's a whole new world. You're looking at a roster that hasn't got Jericho, hasn't got Omega and Mox, but then you have got a roster that's got Adam Cole, Bay, Bryan Danielson, and CM Punk, the cult of personality. So it's a different roster, not necessarily worse, but it certainly seems like TK is adjusting some.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. What else was I going to say?
Ant's putting you over. Says Joe was awesome on Friday. Things to say about the King thing, and then 30 minutes later is still going.
I just want to have a conversation. We're all friends here, right? It's like family, right? I think there is a problem with branding opposing opinions as bad faith.
Yeah.
And because I think I've built up enough cachet with this audience, especially, and they know that I'm not here to be like, WWF mecha guy that's talking about how it used to be better and AEW actually is bad and they should be doing 2.5 million. I do want to start having more kind of nuanced conversations about the good and the bad of their booking, because I do think this is a unique moment in time, and they are now 3-4 months removed from adding 3 major names, and that is a challenge that very few bookers in history will ever have to kind of pass, right? A test very few bookers will ever have to, that's a challenge, and I think you can say pretty reasonably they haven't done anywhere close to a bad job at it. There's a lot of good. I just think, like, if I tweeted tomorrow, man, they've really blown this momentum, that would be dumb. But I don't think it would warrant the vitriol that it would receive. Does that make sense? I think we want to be more comfortable talking about the nuance and the good and the bad in their booking. I think they kind of run a very similar angles too often, which has been something we talked about last week. And I don't know, man. Like, I kind of want to. This is so embarrassing that we're saying this, like we haven't done podcasts the last 6 months, but like I kind of fear that everything's got too black and white, and I'm just trying to be honest and give you my perspective. And I think it's a topic that Eddie Kingston's momentum has kind of not been capitalized on, not been killed, but not been capitalized on. That's my personal view.
I think there's so much still of just comparison to WWE.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, well, WWE sucks so bad that one, AEW will always have that to its advantage, is that WWE is down bad right now to where it's like no matter what they do, like it's still just kind of better. And even if it's not great, like it's still at least simplistic and doesn't, doesn't come off as insulting. And two, like the crowds are still so hot that it still makes it seem like, okay, well, this is still a big deal of everything because the crowd is still reacting to all of this stuff. So I think that all will continue to work in AEW's favor. But I'm with you in like the too much stuff happening. That's a complaint we've had for a very long time.
Yeah.
About it. And like that was once again the case here of, okay, Garcia got the win, and then 5 seconds later you just kind of forgot about it because they're shooting an angle to set up this title match between the Jurassic and the Lucha. So and Kingston, I think there's ways to do, you could tell the story coming off the CM Punk match. I just don't think they've done that. I don't know how Jericho plays into this either. Like he's going to be back. He's going to play some part.
And that's worth noting. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't know how he's going to play into it. Maybe he comes in and some sense starts to get made of this. I'm not sure. That kind of goes back. Okay, is this the best way to utilize some people? Because does Chris Jericho really need to be there for Eddie Kingston? So when it comes to this,
the big one I use, and I'll use a guy that I think everyone knows I don't care about. Okay, so I'm just gonna be honest. The fact that 2 pay-per-views in a row, Darby lost to CM Punk and MJF, and if you combine them, we got like 1 sentence of follow-up on either of those losses. Bad. I don't think that's good wrestling creative. I'm sorry. That CM Punk match getting no follow-up from a character point of view, I don't like personally. When you do it with MJF, who said all the shit he said, and the follow-up was just like, yeah, I'll get him next time, whatever he said, and we're doing this trios now. I think there should be more meat on the bone than that, rather than just using Billy Gunn to pivot elsewhere. I think something that's been a regular problem, and Dave in the chat, who was in our Discord, did a great post about it, and he's right. This has been a problem for time. This isn't a new thing. Their ability to read which feuds should be extended and which feuds should be cut off has been very questionable. Lest we forget 2020, Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara feuded for 25 years, while other stuff was just like halted. And the big thing I want to stress, Jeremy, and this is very important, is my analysis is not tied to whether the ratings are up or down.
Yeah.
That isn't, to be quite frank, as critics, it is very important that wrestling critics do more than simply say, I think the ratings are down because, yes, it is a business, but talking artistically and about the actual product itself, I'm trying to, in my head anyway, figure out and piece together the stuff that's made me a little bit uncomfortable recently in terms of the momentum of the promotion. I'm not saying it's oh my god, they've blown it. Like, I'm not, they're so dramatic. I'll be honest, I think they've kind of fumbled a little bit. And it's not saying, well, you can't still pick the ball up and hit a 3-pointer, but I don't think, in my mind, where they're at in September, I think they would like to be hotter in December. That's my honest read on it. I don't know. You don't know. Like, we ain't sitting here talking to the creative every day. What can we know? But I think they would like to be a little bit more momentum on their side, considering where they're at, man. I do think that. I don't know. Where are you at on that whole thing of like their overall momentum? Maybe I'm overthinking it.
I do think that there is, like, it's down compared to probably where it should be, given the guys that they had. And I'm not talking about from a ratings or viewership perspective, because there are certain factors that go into that. But it does feel like it is slightly down. But they're coming off that summer where like that was just a red hot
Absolutely.
summer. So it's tough to like completely hold that against them. I do want to go back to your point about like when to cut off feuds and when to extend them, and the other point of like when to follow up on feuds and stuff. You mentioned the Darby stuff is like, yeah, MJF said like some vile shit about Darby, and you're just like, yeah, just like move on. And he just runs into Billy Gunn. It's like, oh, I want to wrestle again. Here we go. Here's Billy Gunn. Dude, the Matt Hardy Orange Cassidy, like, bless Matt Hardy. Orange Cassidy lost that feud to Matt Hardy.
Terrible.
And then he just like walks into a feud with Adam Cole and the Super Click. And it's like, you're just supposed to forget that Orange Cassidy is literally coming off a feud loss to Matt Hardy. And what's his name got his head shaved. We haven't seen him on TV. Like, there's just been nothing on that.
Yeah, Montel, that's a great comment from Montel. Throw that on the screen, please. I'm sorry, I really like that comment. You can't have an honest conversation about the use of Punk without people thinking you're one of the people who think it's been flat out terrible if you say any criticism. This is a great comment, because everyone knows that I've liked the usage of CM Punk. However, there is absolutely room for conversation about whether or not you think it's been the most kind of effective usage. Now, I've enjoyed it in a kind of quality point of view. I think it's been really damn good. I definitely think there's room to talk about, whether it's the best way to use him. If it's all he wants to do, then you have no choice. If he just says to you, I'm wrestling Lee Morrett on Wednesday, and that's where it is, you do it. And like, I'm glad we had that match, and that's just one example. But the big thing right now, and this is where it's important to kind of put my own perspective, lock it in. My enjoyment of the product may be completely different if I'm more into the MJF feud, because I'm not into it, and that's fine. That's life. You can't like everything, and you can't. I like, that's not me. I think it's objectively working in a commercial sense, don't you? The MJF Punk feud, like, it seems like the ratings for them segments do well. It seems like the YouTube numbers are good. However, me personally, I'm good, bro. I'm good. When MJF's opening line on Wednesday was like, everyone in Texas swallows, I was like, okay. Some of it's been good, but as an overall picture, I'm just not interested. So that is maybe why my interest is down. Sometimes it's as simple as that, But I'm intrigued by the kind of grand scheme of things. I'm really fascinated. One of the big stories of 2022, beyond our opinions, because I said I like to separate them from the ratings and stuff, it has to be one of the big stories going into next year of like, what will be the commercial growth or lack thereof of AEW, right? And I think they obviously grew this year. They talk about a lot of the metrics that went up, and I think you can tell. But I think it will be something to see in terms of if that continues or if we kind of stall out here. I haven't got a prediction either way. I'm going to be watching it, from afar. Pops me some.
A lot of people in the chat talking about the Punk and MJF feud, and like I do think that, like, kind of like Joseph said, it comes down to if you enjoy MJF's act or not. And
yes,
there are aspects of it that I like, and there are aspects of it that it's low-hanging fruit nonsense that I'd really just have nothing good to say about. I think even and Punk has kind of played into that as well. And you can say, oh well, he's stooping down to his level. It's all part of the storytelling. It's like, all right, cool, but like, I think
That makes you good. Yeah.
It doesn't make it look good or anything like that. Overall, I like the promo segments they've been good, but there are certainly some lines and stuff that it's like, all right, what are we doing here? And they'll get to the singles match eventually, and I'm sure it'll be a big deal. And then they got to figure out, well, who's going to win and lose that match, because I'm not sure. I'm sure they have an idea, but like I don't know where they're going with who's going to win and lose on that. Do you have thoughts on whether MJF's actually going to lose that match, or if he's going to give Punk the first loss and then become pretty much the biggest heel? I mean, he might already be the biggest heel, but like really solidify that.
I think MJF's going to win. Yeah. How I feel about that, I think you probably have a good guess. I think there's a lot to be said for it, and it's kind of smart in some ways. I don't know, man. It's really difficult because I think there's a lot of evidence that MJF's kind of ready to lead the show in terms of he seems to be really over with the audience, not just the ones in the building, but like people that watch from kind of the on the fringes of it. I can only speak myself in saying that I just find him to be too one-dimensional right now, and that's me. People are going to be divided on that. That's fine. I have no issue with that. But I think Montel's got an interesting comment here about like
that
whether
he's stoned.
Yeah, well, that too. But whether he thinks it's weird that Punk feels totally normal, I don't think it's a negative, because I think you could have gone too far the other way and have him be like full part-time, which I think would have been bad.
Yeah.
However, there are certainly moments you and I can point to, and we could have said, well, maybe don't go 10 minutes with QT Marshall. Maybe do a little bit less of this, maybe a little bit more of that. Maybe have him reference the Eddie Kingston blood feud after it happened. Maybe have King reference it. I think there's room for discussion about Punk. I'll be honest with you, I've had a really great time watching him on that show, so I haven't really got a big time criticism of that. I think, though, that on a commercial level, if you did want to look at that side of the game, because I know Montel mentioned draw, there's definitely some discussions to be had about whether or not they've maximized him as a draw. I mean, I think, evidence just not really. Whether Punk cares about that or not, maybe the answer is to why, because he doesn't seem to, and that's, God bless, man, that's fine. It is interesting. It's worth noting too that the TBS move is a big thing here, right? And that's why I'm trying not to put my criticisms on the ratings, because they could go to TBS and go up to 1.1, 1.2, and you kind of leave it at that. To be fair, Punk going 10 minutes with QT is playing to. I agree he's playing to, but I'm not really keen on that part of the story. Like, him shaking off the ring rust was interesting, but 3 months into his run, having MJF be like, yeah, this guy sucks, huh? It's like, I ain't telling that story. No.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, okay, him going 10 minutes with QT Marshall is part of the story, but like, he beat Darby Allin in his first match back. Like, how much ring rust is there to shake off? And then when MJF is burying all the opponents, like the Lee Moriarty match, like, good match. Commentary did no favors.
I know, and
in trying to get that thing over.
He's a heel, but it's like, oh man, I don't know if that was mixed messages to me. That muddied the waters some. Like, you don't.
Yeah.
If you want to make Lee Moriarty, you don't have the heel on commentary just fucking burying him the whole time. I know he's a heel. I get it. I'm not being worked. I'm just. To me, that was kind of messy. The execution of that. It's just.
Yeah.
I don't know. And India Aces is correct. Like, that's why the rating stuff is all it's not irrelevant, but it's obviously worth having a big asterisk because of the West Coast thing. The one part that is interesting about it is, and I don't even know if this is true because someone hit me up with it, so I apologize if not, but like their initial number on the West Coast was a lot higher, wasn't it?
Before it went live.
Like the first week it went to the West Coast, I think the rating was higher than it is right now. Like, people adjusted pretty quickly, I think.
I thought the first week it was down, and that's why people were so like, oh, the West Coast didn't help at all.
Okay, maybe I could be wrong on that. The move is big, JJ, simply because the West Coast. That's literally the reason why. That is a big deal because You know, the chat's 25% of the audience. It's a big deal. I'm not, and that's why I don't want to like tie this kind of questions to the ratings, because like, look at that, bro. Look, that's interesting, isn't it? First week, the demo was 0.4. Now it's down to 0.31.
There you go.
That seems interesting to me.
So it's fallen off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't, like, it's not fleet fuck, but it's interesting. But yeah.
I mean, I think I don't know how much the West Coast is affected. Everything, it's clearly done some type of effect on it, but like, is it all like, can you just chalk it all up to, okay, West Coast, that's why it's all,
I guess we'll find out
right now. Yeah, the TBS move will be pretty telling. You said it on Thursday's show that like February is kind of where you're gonna kind of, because then you'll have a month on TBS, you'll have a month before the next pay-per-view. All right, where are you at on February, and can you gradually, wherever you're at, whatever it might be, can you build that as you move towards your next pay-per-view?
Mm-hmm. And again, you know, two different conversations. Some of my favorite stuff is wildly unsuccessful. So there's two different things. There's a good chance that my favorite version of Dynamite does a 0.15 with 400,000 viewers. Most likely true. So, you know, they're two different things. I do think the Winter is Coming number is like objectively kind of a bummer, but apparently there was other finales against it, so shit happens, right? It is what it is.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, Jeremy, about 6 months ago, we sat here on the world famous Distraction podcast. And, well, let me tell you. I gave this big speech like I was rallying the troops about how every promotion has a clean slate to work with because they have fans back and they should really, you know, put their best foot forward and be creative and make moments and, you know, try their absolute hardest to produce matches and segments worthwhile. Well, Jeremy, I can inform you that none of the promotions I was referencing have done that. Instead, AEW has further distanced itself from the rest of the pack. I don't know where you're at on that as a wider topic, but like, I think the big talking point in terms of the rest of the wrestling world right now, obviously you got WWE, which they are what they are, AEW, and then you got the rest of the US promotions. Like, can any of these promotions really break out and like climb an inch? Can they do it? I don't know. What do you think?
GCW's been the closest one, right? Like,
yes,
they've made the best strides since the start of the year. Is like the Cardona stuff is working. They're gonna run Hammerstein. I know Gage has been off the last few shows. Obviously, the situation with Moxley. So like their momentum has cooled a little bit without those two, but the Cardona stuff is still working for them. Like, he's come in and just been the ultimate heel.
Absolutely.
On that territory. And they got the Briscoes doing stuff with them as well. So like that's helpful. I think GCW is like legitimately made the most strides of this. Like, Impact, there ain't no buzz for that promotion. Like, none.
Yeah.
ROH is, real quickly on ROH. Like, I listened to the Joe Koff interview today, and he's like, you know, I never said we're going on, you know, we're shutting down and all this stuff. I don't know where that came from. Like, I don't get it and everything. It's like, he's right in all of that. Like, it was always just stated like hiatus and everything. But like, the way y'all built that show and everything, you made it seem like you guys were going away forever. Yeah. So don't like try to put this on the fans or websites and being like, oh yeah, people just spun it however they want because of, you know, because it gets clicks and that's the talking point and stuff. Like, nah, y'all are doing video messages from everybody and acting like, hey, we don't know, you know, this seems to be the end. Even your wrestlers are talking about they don't know what's going to happen and everything. Like, everyone fed into this that, oh, ROH is over and it's not coming back, even though he's right in saying like, hey, the plan was always April, but the way they built that final show, there was definitely not much talk of, hey, you know, don't cry for us. This ain't the end. We'll be back in April. It was cry for us. This is the end.
Yes, they had literally had legends send videos like it was a farewell.
Yeah.
So, yes, I mean,
Just
whatever.
angered me when I was listening to the podcast today.
He also said they do like 500,000 weekly viewers on TV. So,
he said that dumb shit before where
Yep.
he's like,
for years he said that.
Yeah.
So no, I agree with you on GCW. Obviously, they're unique in that, like, because of the way they are built and set up, they can they don't have to play by some of the rules the fake national promotions do. Right, they're able to actually just kind of exist as a wrestling promotion. There is a really interesting trend in terms of these like kind of big league independents being more interesting than the minor league TV companies, and part of that's because AEW guys can work them, and there's a lot to it. Yeah, Impact's fascinating. I think that's one of the stories of the year in the sense that Impact entered the year with Kenny Omega on their TV. And it feels like it was all for naught,
It was.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that's completely their fault. I think a lot of it is, but I'm not going to upset JJ in the chat. I'm just, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, they entered 2022 feeling like they're in the exact same position they entered the whole AEW thing, and maybe worse.
I mean, I definitely think it's worse because at least to enter 2022, they had the AEW thing to
Right, I'm saying
hang
like
their hat
before
on.
that. If you got like a
Right.
month earlier, right? Are they in a worse position now than they were before winter is coming and that whole angle? What do you think?
Shit, I don't remember where they were before winter.
Well, I'll tell you where they were, Jeremy. They were sending you their show, and you was telling me about how bad it was.
That's true.
That's where they were at.
I mean, that's still about where they're at because like they have fans back, but like you wouldn't know it based on. I watched the Moose Cardona angle. I thought that was shot in the empty arena. I thought it was shot in the Impact Zone empty arena. Like I did not realize that they actually had fans for that thing.
Did you think that was a good angle?
Define good.
I kind of thought it was good. Now there's elements to it that are questionable.
Yeah.
And our friend David Victor's man quickly seized upon those, and I'll not. I thought it was kind of effective. I don't know. I mean, what that means, I don't have no clue, but I kind of liked it.
See, that's the thing is like I didn't like dislike it as much as Bix did, but I just have a hard time thinking that like anything that promotion's going to do, and maybe that's my fault of I should maybe give them a chance and whatnot. But man, the Moose story, him beating Alexander in that way, took me out of so much. Cardona, like as hot as he feels at GCW, just does not feel that way in Impact. Right. And who else is in that match?
Morrissey, W. Morrissey.
Well, there you
go. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what the fix is at this point. The whole thing with AEW being such a, I mean, you know what? Let's not even do it just AEW. Jay White and Kenny Omega closing that show is insane. It's an all-timer. All-timer. So, yeah, it's a shame. MLW continues to like just kind of just sort of stroll along at this this fascinating pace in which the press releases suggest they're growing, and I'm not sure they're growing at all. I don't know.
The Jay White closing thing is just an all-time like bad faith play of to tease this match, to tease this angle, and then you just bring in Jay White to do like some tag matches with Chris Bay. Like, look, bless Chris Bay. I think we both really like him, but what did anybody gain out of them doing that square off and making it believe like, oh shit, we're gonna do some cool stuff with Jay White and Kenny Omega, and then Omega was on their television for like another week, and Jay White just inducted Chris Bay into Bullet Club. Like, it's so tough to think the company is gonna do anything worthwhile after you close. Well, that was Slammiversary, right? Like after you close one of your pay-per-views, and that's it. Like, just
Do you think that some of these other promotions benefit from like the fact you can kind of drop in and out easier rather than a weekly TV. And we always talk about TV, right? But like when you're selling shows and matches, it's a lot easier for people to kind of pick their shows to watch, right? Like, oh, this guy's wrestling at this GCW show. He's my favorite. I'm going to watch this particular show. You can kind of drop in and out. I think an issue that NWA runs into, an issue that Ring of Honor did run into, Impact still does, MLW to an extent, is you kind of feel like you actually have to watch the weekly show. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many people actually want to watch these shows. I mean, the evidence is just not many. Look, Impact's ratings don't matter, I don't think, really. But I would suggest they would rather not lose 60% of their viewership in a year. I would guess that's probably not what the plan was when they had the old, chart up and such. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a shame. I'm gonna do a series next year, folks, where I do the best of the rest. I'm gonna grade It's gonna be Impact, MLW, NWA, New Japan Strong. I think the shows that have like weekly TV, and each week it'll be a series. Like who had the best match, who had this promo, who was the star of the week. It's something I'm going to do because I kind of want to explore these promotions and where they're at. And there's obviously talent in all of them. How much, you can debate that among yourselves. But I'm intrigued by which one of these you're going to try, man. Strive to be great, strive to be interesting. Don't give people a choice, but to pay attention. I don't think any of them are doing a very good job of that right now. So that's where we're at. Anyway, Bret Hart.
What's your favorite Bret Hart Impact moment?
I actually sat there and thought and was like, hang on. Didn't he do a Ken Shamrock thing? Hall of Fame thing?
He sent in a video. Yeah, I think so.
God bless. Darius Lockhart is so good, man.
Yeah.
I'm kind of stunned at how well-rounded he is. The first time I see him do a promo, this was a few months ago. I see him do one of these really cool the way he edits the promos and stuff, and I was like, well, I wonder if he's just no good in ring. And I watched the match that reset was the Moriarty match, but I watched some of his stuff in ring. And I was like, good Lord. I mean, he's incredible. He should be the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Wait, JJ, is that still an angle they're doing with Chris Daniels? By the way, I mean this with all due respect. Is poor Chris Daniels' eye going to be like that forever?
I don't know.
Have you seen this, Jeremy?
I don't think so.
When he wrestled the Young Bucks, his eye got all fucked up. It's like bloodshot, and it still is that way. It kind of looks brutal, man. I was genuinely kind of taken aback. I was like, wait, is this just how he looks now? Seems bad. I mean, he still looks great. He's like 52 and he can still go, but I just, I worry for the man. A mythical third promotion feasibly can't have weekly TV. A fifth, sixth major wrestling show during the week. Yes, that's the truth of it. Wow, look at this. JJ's blaming Tony Khan for pulling Christopher Daniels from the Impact Zone. God, that rules. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but yeah. Malachi Black jokes in the chat.
What if Christopher Daniels is part of House of Black? He's the higher power.
Did you laugh at his segment last week?
I mean, I did, but we talked about it a little bit. You got to bless that man's commitment to this whole thing.
Yeah, I agree. I give him. He was in my best promos of the week, and I mostly was ironically. The fact that the place was so well lit popped me too. It just didn't look particularly dark, did it? In there, he's just kind of walking around. Yeah, the Impact Zone is a great. It's a great pop within the pop. What would you call Jeremy? What would be your wrestling promotion studio name? The Lambert Lair?
They're just Distraction Studios. I mean, what are we naming when Freddie Prinze hands us the book? What are we naming that
Prince's
place?
Palace.
Prince's Palace. Oh man, that'd be good.
There you go. Bud Matt, man. Remember Bud Matt? Remember when I set the stage for some great angles on this very show, and he just never showed up anywhere?
How much of your newfound hatred of the Fleet just has to be that they completely
60% at least.
Yeah.
Signed like
That's
Tony
fair.
Nese. They even booked Aria Davari. Waiting for Lindsay Dorado to come through next, you know? It's weird. I actually genuinely think that's like a really interesting story, but I don't really want to, you know, I'm not a reporter. It's kind of fascinating to me that he's not showed up anywhere. Is that surprising to you or just me?
It is surprising considering the guys that they have signed, but like there aren't that many places to just show up anymore. Like I don't think he wants to go to like GCW and do that stuff.
He should.
True. New Japan Strong, he was there. I guess he just did the one match. I really thought he was gonna like do more with them, and now it doesn't seem like that's actually going to be the case.
It must be like in terms of Impact, it has to be his choice. I refuse the notion Impact didn't reach out to him. Demore was literally talking about it publicly. Like,
yeah,
it's wild. I just.
Do we think it is like? I mean, I guess he worked New Japan, so I was gonna think. Do we think it's a visa issue? But like, if he could get on that show,
yeah, I don't think it's that. I think maybe he's just waiting it out.
Maybe.
I mean, it's not like wrestling gets new free agents every month because the main company cuts people, right? So it's not like he's falling down the big ball, isn't he?
Yeah. It is. I mean, there is that, but like, there also is a point of like, if you come in now, there are so many people.
It's never going to change, though, Jeremy, man. Yeah. Look here, okay? We're probably going to get O'Reilly, Brody King, and the Briscoes in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
February, you can get Keith Lee, Swerve, Athena, Mia Yim, and then you get to like Tegan. By the time February gets here, do you not think they'd have made more cuts? Because I certainly do. You know, and then you start, it's just a mess.
Even if they haven't made more cuts by February, they're going to make cuts after Mania because they always do. Yeah. And then, I mean, those will be, you got to wait 90 days for some of those. Maybe that's when you come in, though, just like post-Mania.
Maybe. Good luck. Maybe. Yeah, I think the Impact thing is his choice. And to be clear, I'm not saying that's a bad choice. Like, there's probably a lot to be said for that as a choice. I'm just saying, I would guess that, you know, they reached out, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There are some, what I'm trying to say politely is, there are some professional wrestlers that aren't working anywhere because no one wants them. And that's just the reality of it, right? Like, I don't really name anyone. You can look at I don't think Bud Matt is that. He seems to have made a clear choice. So, I'm intrigued by that, Peter, about the idea of AEW not renewing, because I don't fully know who fits the bill for that. You know, like the Big Swole news wasn't particularly surprising because poor Swole, she'd been out of the picture for so long. But like, who else is like so out of the picture that you'd expect them to not be renewed? I know that's kind of cold, but I'm intrigued. What do you think?
I mean, Janela.
Yeah,
he may have resigned. I'm not sure.
He was pretty public about like his contract coming up and kind of.
Yeah, like Janela, Sunny Kiss. But I think in the case of like
TH2's good ones, yeah.
Yeah, I think in the case of somebody like Janela, like he can still do all his GCW stuff and whatnot. So like if they're gonna just offer him a new deal, take some security and continue to do your other stuff, because I don't think he has any aspirations of going like WWE. Maybe I'm wrong, but
let me tell you something, Jeremy. Joey Janela cut a promo on Dark last week that was fucking incredible. He cut this promo about the Sunny Kiss feud, and it was spectacular. And I'm not saying he should be on the show more because we all get the deal, right? The roster's stacked, but my God, I mean. Dude's very useful on those C shows as like the top C show guy, if that makes sense. So yeah.
I mean, that's where like he was always a good promo, especially like those videos. That was a big reason why they signed him, is like the way he got over with those videos and GCW and everything. And we just never, outside of like a couple of things with Sunny Kiss on television, we just never really got that. And yeah, like you said, their roster is so stacked now that you can justify not putting Joey Janela on there, but it didn't even seem like he was, utilized as much as he probably should have been when they were first starting, and they didn't have the kind of talent that they have now.
Brian Cage is an obvious one. That's a good one.
Yeah,
There.
yeah. Brian Cage is pretty.
Seems like
obvious
he's
one.
done right.
I think Kip probably, because they're gonna resign Penelope. Penelope's on TV every week. I don't think she's gonna be like.
Yeah, it feels like they'll keep Kip around, right?
Yeah, Kip. I mean, I don't know when he's supposed to be back. He's been injured. He's got a ready-made feud with Miro whenever Miro's back as well. I think we all kind of know how that's going to go, but at least it's something that they can do.
Yeah,
it's something they can do. I don't know if that's what you want to spend too much TV time on, but it's something.
It's hard, man. I don't know. Like, I agree with people saying TH2, but Angelico is so fucking good. I feel like you got to find something for Angelico to do. Even like, look, I love Jack Evans, but obviously he's at a different point in his career. If you don't want to use him, you don't want to use him. But Angelico is worth kind of rolling the dice on and trying to do some stuff with. Yeah, I don't know. The Guns, I think, are like family, man. I think they're pretty locked in. What my point of this is, I'm sorry, this is very brutal. We're just sitting there talking about people who could lose their jobs. My bad. What I was trying to get to was there are less people that are on like the absolute edge of the roster than you would think. Shoot always says this to me, and he's correct. They keep everyone close enough that no one feels like we just talked about Buddy a minute ago. When he got cut by WWE, it was like, well, shit, he's wrestled two matches in the last 6 months. You know, They don't do that, so it's harder to just like isolate names. And there's a couple, obviously, but considering how big the roster is, I don't think there's many that you could say they're completely off the board. Sonny Kiss is a sad one because there was real improvement there that I feel like was never fully like capitalized on. You know, I remember us talking about the match with Cody and being like, man, like that's real steps forward, and there was no real follow up, unfortunately. So that's a shame. Sean Dean is used for like booking the local guys, as far as I know. So
yeah, people have said Luther and stuff like he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, he's also a distraction legend, but he's like a player coach, right? He does aging and stuff, right? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't work with the man.
No, he helps QT at the factory and everything. Like, they're not they got their act. Like Jericho is obviously good friends with Luther. I don't.
Here's the thing too: is like, look, you have to have. There has to be a degree of like
hierarchy.
Yeah, and you have to have if someone's gonna like, you're not gonna renew them. Okay, what's their role? Look at Chaos Project used. It's like I don't think anyone's even sitting there going, man, we need to like. That's their gig, right? Like they're the kind of fun, wacky C-show team that loses on TV, and yeah, that's me. Yeah, this is the thing. I just Lance Archer is one that I think I'll be shocked. He's just injured right now, or he's waiting to come back anyway.
Yeah.
That's the part that like the Mustafa Ali story on WWE's side.
Oh,
that if you do actually like working there, it must be so brutal when you go home because you just know that like you may not come back because if they just forget, right, is what it is.
They had him cut that "You People" promo, and then that was the end of it. With
they
him.
Pulled that, they got cold feet on that one.
I mean, they should have, like that one. They shouldn't have done it in the first place because it was stupid, and everyone knew like they were not going to do the angle the way it needed to be done and everything. And Ali was going to like try to make the most of it and everything, but that was never going to be the direction you should have been going with this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, don't do it if it's just dumb.
It's a mess.
They have no clue how to book that guy.
Any big departures next year? FTR, Santana, and Ortiz. Santana and Ortiz are definitely well within their rights to be like, we've got about 9 months on our deals. We need to be used accordingly. They are 100% right. And if that's the way they look at it, God bless them. Where they would go, I have no idea. No clue. But I would be rooting for them regardless. They're great. FTR, I think, is Dax having some fun.
Yeah. That's exactly what I took that as when he's like, oh, we only have so much time. I'm pretty sure like they signed in July, like June, July. So they still got another 6-7 months their deals.
Unless if it's a 2-year deal.
Yeah, I was gonna say, assuming it's a 2-year deal, they still got another 6-7 months. And yeah, I think it was Dax just being like, oh yeah, never know. Like we want to accomplish all of this. Like they ain't going back to WWE. Not after the way that whole thing ended. And like they're still used very well in AEW, and they're doing what they want to do in AEW.
Yes, because they are, high enough in the aforementioned hierarchy that if they want to go work somewhere else, they can pretty much get that done. It looks like. So
yeah.
I mean, look, I'll be honest here. Every time I watch them two dudes do an interview, even when they're slightly in kayfabe, they just come across like fucking like top of the big bald level dudes,
Yeah.
like just guys you can trust to just like when they talked about there was an interview, I want to say it was the one they did with the Barstool pod, but there was another one, the one where they buried Sean. I'm trying to think of what, because I wish I could give a shout out to it, but it was a good interview, and they were talking about the private party and doing that program, and like you just got the sense from the way they were talking about it, they just really want to elevate private party. That's the only shit they're into is like, never forget that the famous Jungle Boy Dax match came from Dax just going to TK and be like, hey, I want to do this angle exclusively to work with Jungle Boy.
Yeah.
Like, I try not to look too deep into the behind the scenes because we don't know any of these people. But from the outside looking in, FTR are like the ultimate. They're the dudes you want on your team, man. Like they're so selfless. They're so good. I mean, if they want to, I think they could have a job there for life, to be honest with you. Because as coaches, they're going to be fucking incredible,
There's a lot of people. I mean, Wardlow mentioned it in the interview I listened to with him of like FTR are two guys who will coach him up. A lot of people have mentioned that, like,
Hobbs too.
Yeah, Hobbs, the Griff Garrison, like a lot of guys have mentioned that how FTR is just always helpful with everything. So yeah, they ain't going nowhere. And like you said, like if they want to, like they could just have a job there forever, just doing coaching stuff and agenting, producing, whatever they call it there, because they're already doing a lot of that stuff there.
Great team, man. I mean, just they're one where I actually this is hilarious. This is where my brain is so like weird. They're one where I almost wish they were on a smaller roster because there's so much I think a wrestling promotion could do with them. AEW does a lot because they have so many mouths to feed. Like you can only do so many Dax singles matches, for example, right?
Yeah.
Brother, if they run a 20-man roster and I had the pencil, Dax Hall would wrestle a singles match every 2 weeks and Cash would wrestle one a month too. Like you can only do so much in AEW because unfortunately they've got like 150 wrestlers. So you have to kind of let other guys, you have to use them as a tag. But Dax Hall as TV champ in my fantasy fed, God bless. He'd be incredible. Such a good wrestler.
He's really good.
It appears that young TK has confirmed, Jeremy, this may have been your story, the Battle of the Belts is indeed 1 hour.
Yeah, that was my story.
Does that mean that Fleet fucked or not?
I mean, we already know there's one match on the show. I imagine. Do you think we're gonna get the Danielson Hangman match?
I don't know, man. Because we got Britt and Riho.
Like
yeah. You don't want it to be short.
Yeah.
You don't want it to feel constrained, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe you do, but then what else would you do as the main event? Punk and MJF? Belts. I know belts.
The Sammy and Cody rematch after Cody wins it on Christmas for a Cody Christmas.
Okay, do we think he's actually winning it?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I do too. Okay, good question by Tope Suicida. Okay. The Fleet 50 is a list for your top 50 in-ring performers in AEW. We will be accepting ballots on the 1st of January 2022, which will be the day after the last Rampage of the year. You can email them to me when it time comes. I'll obviously get that information out like when it's actually time. You'll have about 3 weeks to vote. And then I'll get it all together, get the ultimate list, and then hopefully Shit's going to do some graphics. He said he was going to a while ago, but that was a very long time ago, so maybe not. If not, either way, we're going to reveal the list on the Late Night Grin sometime in February. but it is your top 50 in-ring performers. Now, if you got two dudes that you feel are very evenly matched and you think one's a much better promo, you can use that as your deciding factor. But ultimately, we're trying to reward the workhorses here. There are going to be overlap between top stars and workhorses, but there are some interesting names that are a lot lower, I think, if you're honest about in-ring, than you'd expect. So that's what the idea is. It's based on the world-famous New York 50, which was created by the Confirmed Shoot. Buddy Matthews had that stolen from him when Seth frickin' Rollins won it instead. Because the Oracle of Wrestling said that Ali had a better year than Buddy because I don't fucking know, man. So that's what it's based on, but for a good promotion. So the Fleet 50. Any further questions? Bobby's on Twitter telling people to be nice.
Yeah, did you see this tweet?
No. I'm off, bro. I'm trying so hard just to be completely off. It's brutal, man. Twitter sucks so bad.
Jonathan Ross Sapp retweeted it, so now it's kind of
Jonathan.
Yeah, Jonathan Ross Sapp. Robert Neal said, some of y'all are just mean as hell to each other on here over the most trivial stuff. I'm not talking about the banter or whatever between friends, but two people who don't know each other and disagree and just attack each other. Be nice! ! My God.
I mean, he's right.
Yeah.
Like one of the ways that aforementioned Liv Morgan thing was sent to me was by Paul of RBR fame. He quote tweeted it with what the fuck is this or whatever he tweeted. He did a thread about why it's bad, and just got 50 quote tweets. People telling him to go touch a boob, and I just personally wouldn't quote tweet anyone with telling them to get bitches or touch grass. But I'm not a great big fucking loser, right? I mean, I am, but not enough to do that. It's really brutal, and this is what I'm getting at, and this is why I actually am trying to distance myself from it for the sake of this content. Because too often these bad take accounts, whatever, they brand you can't have any different opinions, It's just brutal. It's so I don't want to use the word toxic because it's so it's Twitter, just fucking turn it off. But it is toxic. Let's be real. Sometimes sometimes you would fuel that with your tweets. You would actively seek out the quote tweet, assassins. But good Lord, man, they're brutal. They're so aggressive.
They are. I mean, I don't feel I always use Twitter the best, especially with my troll tweets. But
yeah, not the best idea.
No, I've gotten better about it, I think. So I'm not saying Bryan Danielson is the fucking GOAT. I don't feel like I'm trolling anybody. That's my opinion. People just kind of go after you on that.
This is just me, right? If I'm not friends with someone and we don't have a prior existing Twitter relationship where we go back and forth and talk shit, and someone says that a wrestler I think is second or third is the GOAT, I'm personally just not hopping in their mentions with an argument. Yeah. But I don't care enough. I'm sorry, and that's not me trying to say that I've got better stuff to do, because frankly, I haven't. I've got nothing better to do. I'm just not going to get in a debate with Jeremy Lambert if I didn't know him. Frankly, I do know him, and I'm not going to debate it because we agree. But even if we didn't, whatever, right? So, no, man, Shawn Michaels is well, obviously I hadn't forgotten that Shawn Michaels existed, so I don't have him as my go. Where do we go from here? We're just going to shout at each other? Do you want me to pull out star ratings? You know what I mean?
That is always the weird thing of I'll tweet some dumb shit. I'll completely ignore the replies and everything, and just that'll be what it is. For me, the people actively seek that stuff are always It's what are you hoping to accomplish with this? I'm just here because I'm a dipshit trying to pop my friends, and that's about it. And again, is this the best use of Twitter? Maybe not, but it's kind of how I choose to use my Twitter.
I mean, there are worse ways. Let's be honest, man.
Yeah.
Some people are way too online.
Yes.
And if they have fun doing that, bless them. But I couldn't. I mean, I feel like I'm too online, and I'm a lot less online than some of the. Bob is a good example. Bless Bob. Yeah. We love the man, but good Lord, pal, log off.
I would completely. I was off this entire weekend. I had a down mental day on Saturday and Saturday afternoon because I wanted to do a Twitch on Saturday afternoon. I was oh yeah, I'll do my usual sports stream, and then 1:30 rolled around, and I usually go live at 2. It's man, I just don't feel like being on. Like even though it's just like a casual, like I'm just gonna play NBA or NHL and just talk with the chat and stuff. Like I just don't want to. I don't have to be like on. Cause you know how it is. You get on these shows, you got to be like on this stuff. It ain't just Like I don't feel like doing that, and so I just feel like, guys, you know what? The weather outside sucks. It's been a long couple of weeks. I'm exhausted. I'm logging off. Y'all have a good weekend. I didn't check Twitter at all until I had to get back on today to do work and shit. And then it was very nice. It was a very nice break.
It's something I actually like kind of deal with in my mind a lot of like, what's the best way to approach what we do when you have up and down days? Like, my instincts are that it's really good to kind of just be honest with the audience. Just be like, well, I'm fucking miserable today, so deal with it. But I generally, right or wrong, I'll just like, do fake energy and we'll get through the show, right? Like we've both done that before. We've got here and be like, well, here we go. And my take on that is because like the audience, the cliche aside, pun intended, like they want some form of distraction, right?
Yeah.
But then like, is that phony? I don't know.
I don't think so, because like for me personally, and you know this, Joseph, like there have been days where I'm just like feeling like shit and we're 10 minutes before the show and I'm like, Joseph, I don't want to do this. Like I'm exhausted. This sucks. Like I just don't want to do a show today. And like I have very low energy. But then we go and maybe, you got to be on. And so a switch kind of flips there. But once we get rolling and stuff after the show, I'm always like, oh, that was good. Like I needed that. I really needed to do that. And like that's how I feel about it a lot of times. Anytime we do these shows, and I've said it a million times, like these shows are a distraction for me as a break from the other stuff that really exhausts me and frustrates me and everything. And I think that's sort of how our audience feels. Like, maybe they're not having a great day, and like they are expecting us to kind of deliver this. And like, I do feel a sense of what's the word I'm looking for?
Responsibility.
Yes, yeah. Like there's some sense of responsibility. Like, all right, I got to deliver for the audience, especially with like the shows with you, and especially like the Thursday show. Obviously, some of the Twitch stuff, and then now that we're doing literally daily shows, some of that stuff. Like, look, and I'll tell you this. You already know this, but I'll say, like, if you need a week off, if you need a show off or whatever,
right?
We won't do the show. We'll move the show around or just like take the show off, like whatever it might be, because my schedule is going to change. It's like pretty dramatic. It's already kind of started, but it's going to change even more dramatically beginning next year. Like we're going to probably have to change some schedules and stuff. Like the Twitch shows, I'm the same way. It's like, man, Saturday, I'm just like, I just don't feel like being on right now, so I'm not going to be on.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I've talked about it quite a lot. Like the Thursday show is a really weird part of my week now, I enjoy it like a decent amount of the time, but it's so clearly on a different level to everything else we do that it gives me like weird anxiety, and like the thing that's dumb about that is I know that like most of the audience doesn't care, like they just watch it as like fun content and move on. Like you got to realize, and this is the one thing where you and I are like separate just by circumstance. You very much care about whether this content's good or not, but in your week, this is the fun part of your wrestling life.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is just what I do for wrestling. This and the green content, which is the same content, right? Like you've been on those shows. It's the same exact shit we do here. We just talk here. So, whereas your week is defined by how good you did on the news front, my week in this world is defined by how good the podcasts were. So, even though the audience doesn't take it that seriously, and some of my least favorite episodes ever, like the one I hosted that I've hated, and I went to the comments and so I was like, "This is my favorite episode of Distraction." It's like that really shook me because I'm in my own head, like people don't watch it analytically because of course they don't. It's a podcast, but I'm, my own worst critic in that sense, and I don't even mean that in like a braggadocious way. Like, look how seriously I take myself. Not really. I'm just saying that. We've done shows where I've ended it and been like, man, that sucked, you know. And why I do that, I don't know, but it's made Thursday a real weird part of my week where I kind of dread it until we're like halfway into it and I realize it's going good and then I relax. Which is weird because I didn't do that when we only did that as when that was our only show, I didn't do that. So I don't know why that is. My brain, plays tricks on itself, I guess. But it's a real thing, man. Like Thursday, I got to get past that before I can kind of take a deep breath and relax some. It's weird.
See, you're right in that, I don't get that perspective because, like you said, when we get to Thursday at 3:00, I'm like, oh fuck, I can unplug from listening to all these interviews. I don't have to keep an eye on things. It's like we do this show, and then we do the post show, and it's like I'm pretty checked out for the day. After that, I've put in my good work for the day. Now it's just, hey, let me hop on here with Joseph. Let's do our fun cold open. Let's talk about wrestling for an hour. Bring on O'Neal, and then let's just bullshit for an hour and a half after that on the post show. Mm-hmm. That's just the come down from the week that was for me. And so I don't understand the perspective of if I looked at it as oh shit, I gotta be good. You treat it like I treat the news cycle and stuff. Yes. It's like shit, I missed something there, or I made an error there. I didn't catch that. I should have done this. That's how I'm very hard on myself when it comes to news, because that's how I treat that. So if I treated the podcast the same way, I understand where you're coming from with that. You should go back and just watch the shows and analyze it and just be like, missed the headlock takeover there. Could have been a little crisper on that one. Bad lockup. Threw a bad right hand. I should have sold that one. I can honestly say different.
We've been doing this now for 2 years, basically, right? And we have done an ungodly amount of hours. If you actually set that and fall back, it's probably ridiculous. Because we started doing daily shows 3 months into the podcast. It's nuts. And I can honestly say I think I've watched myself on this show for about 2 minutes combined for that whole time. And most of it's when it's a Bob clip that people share.
Right.
Because I'm just... And again, this isn't me doing the play humble thing. I'm not even being humble. I think I'm pretty good at this. I just don't want to watch myself do it. This isn't me beating myself up. I'm pretty confident with this whole world, but I'm not watching myself do it, bro. I'm not.
I'm the same way. I'll sometimes watch back bits and stuff that we will do. And sometimes if the girlfriend misses the show, she's like, oh, I want to watch, this, you said this was good, let's watch it type of thing. So I'll watch it back with in that sense. But I will never just watch back because this show again is a lot of fun and whatnot. Right. So I'm not sitting down analyzing this. Interviews is where I'm really oh fuck, I don't want to watch myself do any type of this interview type thing. I'm very proud of the Jonathan Gresham thing. I've not watched that back outside of clipping one little bit of it, and because I know once it wraps, and it's the same thing with these shows, but interviews especially, I know once it wraps, I know the mistakes I made in my head of what I could have done differently, and I'm just oh fuck, I don't need to go back and rewatch it and be I fucked up there. I should have gone here instead of there. I kind of already know that in my head. Especially with interviews. These shows, it's a little bit different because I'm oh, fuck, I'm going to do another show tomorrow anyway. Who cares? But interviews, I will definitely. I know once it's over, I was oh, man, should have done this and everything. And I'll be very hard on myself, and I never want to watch those back.
Yeah, I get that. That makes a lot of sense. It's a weird one, man. I will say, we're 2 years into this process and this project and whatever you want to call it. And I think we've had some really strong shows, some stuff that I think genuinely was fun, and honestly there's very few that I can say if I'm being honest myself I thought were bad. Some I'm frustrated with my part of, but I think this it's gone better than you and I probably could have ever imagined. Is that fair?
Yes, 100%.
I mean, we've got our own channel, which was not on my mind when you hit me up about doing this, so I'm very proud of it. I mean, I'll be honest with you, dude, I feel I feel like speaking of myself, because we're in different points, right? As I said, you're the lead wrestling writer, so God bless. But me personally, I feel pretty fucking fired up right now, man. I really feel like I'm ready to go. I don't know what that means, and I have no clue what that means, but the amount of kind of variety that I've been able to do just from sitting in this chair and talking about pro wrestling. I'm pretty proud of, and doing the grin and hosting that show, which, as you learned in your 15 minutes of hosting it when I went to bed, is pretty chaotic, right? There's a lot going on, and just doing different stuff. Like, it's been really rewarding for me. And I was thinking about it the other day, like 2021 is absolutely the most fulfilling year I've had. Like, we've done so much this year, man, and I'm sure not all of it's been good, but like, I think I'll speak for myself. I think I've come an awful long way in this regard, and from being the co-host of a 45-minute podcast once a week to being like the other half of like 8 shows a week, hosting some of them, like, I'm pretty content with that. So wherever it goes from here, well, we had a good run of it, right? I think both of us think this thing should go for a long time. So hopefully it does. But whatever happens, I think the distraction's been a triumph, and I kind of just thought it'd be like a fun little deal we'd do every week. It's been a lot more than that, so I'm very happy with that.
I am as well. I mean, like I've said many times, like I needed a break from news for an hour a week, and it's become way much more than that, and it's become something I couldn't imagine. Like you said, like I think 2022 we're going to continue to do great things and continue to just build things that we've already started building. Shuck, sorry. Anytime like new stuff, had you read about Hangman Page's interview? What interview are we talking about? Shuck. Usually, if you do new stuff, that's immediately just gonna catch my eye.
His interview with WWE.com.
Oh, okay. Like it's just, yeah. I think we're doing something fun and different and special here, and we're gonna continue to do that for next year and hopefully many years to come. And one of the things that we're going to do very soon, Joseph, you have no idea about this. This is my Christmas gift to you. We're going to watch Rumble, and we're going to review it. You seen this film? You heard about this film?
No. Rumble?
Yeah.
I have no idea what that is.
Oh, that's the... Oh, sorry. This is the A-Shock. That was the... he's talked about that in a few interviews. I didn't know if this was...
I did see that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. It's a Netflix film. It's a WWE Netflix film. I believe Roman Reigns and Becky Lynch are voices.
How long?
The film. What?
How long is it?
How long is it? It can't be. If it's over 90 minutes, we won't do it. There's no way.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. There's no way this movie's over 90 minutes. Can't be. The fuck do you get this information at? Come on,
my brother gets real fired up, and he's like, "You should bring the movies back." And I just,
it's funny that like people don't know about the movies. Oh, we're not doing it. It's an hour 44 minutes. Never mind.
No
Fuck it. Sorry, everybody.
No way. That was honestly, to that stuff I used to dread. We first did them reviews. It was fun, and by like a few months into that, I would dread, like, oh, we've got to watch this film. Like, it lost its humor real quick.
Yeah, it did. Like, it was very fun for that first while, and then it did become a thing of like, oh fuck. Like, I remember Monday night after Raw, I'd be like, oh shit, I still gotta watch this movie. Or Tuesday morning, it's like, oh shit, I gotta watch this. Like,
and here's the thing too, it wasn't just watching it. You had to like come up with ideas as to how you were going to fill an hour talking about it.
Right.
And then you'd have to come up with like bits, and you'd have to come up with talking points about these terrible films. And obviously River of Darkness was the one that I'll never That was so bad. And it wasn't, I want to be clear, not so bad it's good. Like, it was honestly harrowing sitting there and watching that film. It was so bad.
Yeah.
So
well,
I'll never
folks,
be back full time. We may do like a couple. We should try and do a couple movie reviews for this channel, but
that's why I wanted to, potentially do Rumble, but once I saw hour 44,
I'll be honest. I think there's room on this channel for Bob just reviewing Halloween Kills on a solo show. Just like an 8-minute review. We do like a cool thumbnail of Bob, like he's doing like the the Home Alone face with Michael Myers behind him. That'd probably do like 150,000 views.
I've said this before. Like, I want to do more like short videos on the film. We got to film commercials. I got different ideas for different people. it's a matter of just nailing this stuff down. Now with the holidays, I just don't have any effort or energy to put into this shit. But at some point, I will definitely put some. We'll start laying out some things and really put more and more content on the channel, more than we already put, which is pretty much a daily stream.
Yeah. The bootlicker Bob is definitely something we need to do.
Yeah.
We need to use in some way, We'll see, folks. Stuff to look forward to next year. There you go.
Yes. All right, we've done almost 2 hours now. Let's get out of here. No show tomorrow. No ROH show tomorrow because we've been pushed off Tuesdays, even though we were on Tuesdays first by the Fightful holiday stream, which I'm sure won't be a disaster at all as 15 people try to talk over each other on this stream. I don't think Joseph's going to be there.
So here's my take on this, okay? I'm not saying I won't be there because I'm vaguely tempted to see just how awkward it is.
Show up. I'll tell you something off air. You got to show up for.
Okay. However, it is not lost on me that this is supposed to be like the Christmas show. And after this show, I'm doing a Wednesday show. Then I am following our Wednesday show with the Late Night Grin after Dynamite, followed by Thursday, in which I'll do probably 3 shows, at least 2 with you. So it doesn't really feel like much of a Christmas show to me. I have many hours of these shows left. So, but if I have to be there for something, we'll talk about it off the air. So there you go.
Yeah. I will be there. Might not say anything, but I will be there. It's gonna be something tomorrow. I'm just there to show up so I can say I showed up so I can get my cut of all the money. That's really all it is.
That's fair.
Yeah. So no show on the channel tomorrow. And the Fightful Christmas stream is that day. Wednesday we'll have Dynamite pre-show with special guest. Thursday we have our regular show and then the post show. And then everybody have a Merry Christmas after that. And we'll wish you a Merry Christmas about 1,000 more times because we're gonna do 1,000 more hours, everybody. Mm-hmm. Joseph, do you want to plug your non-Twitter and the non-associated Late Night Grin?
No, I do. LateNightGrin.com. We're going to be live in an hour with Bob O'Neill and the Oracle of Wrestling. We're going to watch an old C show in WCW 1995. Merry Christmas. No better way of celebrating that. Follow me on... don't. If you're a patron, hit me up for the Discord link if you want it. That's actually pretty cool, the Discord thing. Other than that, tune into AEW Dynamite at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on TNT. Bye.
Yeah, Shady says Thursday is his surprise as well. All right, everyone. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all's night. Don't watch Raw. Talk to y'all tomorrow on the world famous Fightful Christmas show.